Hey folks, it's Dave here in Studio B, and got a little chat for you here tonight. Here with first off, I want to thank everybody that tuned in Saturday night. Holy cow, Saturday was that awesome! We had a great panel, we had a great chat room, and we're gonna do that again. We're absolutely gonna do another roundtable discussion again with some people in the community because that was so fun, and you guys seem to really like that. So we'll do that again. But tonight, we're going to go in search of the perfect game. You remember that show In Search of with Leonard Nimoy back in the 70s? Oh, let me tell you, as a kid in the 70s, that was creepy. That was our X Files, but it was real. A lot of the stuff was real. Bigfoot, Amelia Earhart. That was a big thing in the 70s. So if you grow up with In Search of, that was kind of a creepy kind of show. And that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to go in search of the perfect game. And I'm actually live tonight, too, by the way. So Carlito's stopping by to say hi. And how this kind of happens, so I want to kind of set the stage here, is hockey is back on the table here on the channel. And I've been going back and forth between Apple Hockey and Hockey Bones. And I'm trying to figure out which one I like better and why. Do I? And Ron keeps telling me, why do you need to find one that's better? And I go, well, I want to have my go-to game. Okay, I want to find the game. Okay, and I'm playing Apple Hockey, and it's on, and I love it. And then I play Hockey Bones, and I love it. And I'm gonna do a whole video comparing those two games. But so it just got me on the track of trying to find that perfect game, in search of, if you will, in search of that perfect game, as Bob Tabletop Sports comes by. So let's get into it, all right? And of course, I have a PowerPoint presentation to bring to you tonight. So hopefully that'll do some things here. So we're gonna go in search of the perfect game. All righty. So to me, the first thing needs to be the fun factor. Okay. If a game is not fun, then why play it? And I know you're saying, well, you're right. If it's not fun, well, I'm going to play it. Well, if when I get through my list, if a game has everything else on the list, but it's not quite that fun, it still might be a game that you want to play. But so as far as the perfect game goes, you need to have the fun factor. It has to be fun. Although, there's been some games I played that I think were super, and I hate to use the word accurate, but they were super accurate and the results were unbelievable, but it felt more like a math equation than it did a sporting event or a simulation game. And I know we're rolling dice and flipping cards, and technically it's math, but you don't want it to feel like math, okay? So if I found a game that was unbelievably accurate and the stats were like almost spot on, but it was no fun, I couldn't play it. I'd rather have a game that's not as, statistically accurate, maybe a little bit easier to play, not as many options, whatever, but the fun factor. So the fun factor is it. It's got to be the fun factor. As Charles stops by, and I like black coffee and latte. I refresh to pick which one is better. I refuse. I refuse to pick which one. I like them both at different times. Yeah, and that's what Ron was telling me. You can like both games at the same time. So anyway, so continue with my list. If I'm in search of the perfect game, the fun factor has to be there. It has to be fun over everything else. It's got to be fun. Okay, so let's continue on here. My next thing, number 2, would be seasons and teams, and this has to come right after the fun factor because if a game is unbelievable, but it doesn't have any seasons or teams that I want to play, then I'm not going to play the game. I have a couple of games. I'm not going to say which ones they are, but I have some games here that I've either purchased or they're, whatever. And they only have one, maybe 2 seasons in my wheelhouse that I would like to play. So if this was the best game in the world, if this was the perfect game, I don't think I would want to invest myself in it because if I could only really play 1 season or maybe 2 seasons that I enjoy playing, then this game's not going to last at my tabletop because it's going to frustrate me because it's like this game is so good, but I can only play this season because I don't want to play this season and I don't want to play this season. So seasons and teams is another huge deal when deciding if I'm going to play a game. In fact, a little sneak preview of my Appa vs. Hockey Bones video that I'll be doing soon, is the reason I stuck with Appa, and we talked about how bad the rule book was and how I've spent a lot of time with Appa hockey. The reason I stuck with Appa is because they had so many seasons that I wanted to play. And compared to some other games that didn't, I said, okay, I need to make this work because they have so many seasons and teams I want to play. And I made it work. And I'm glad it did work out. But seasons and teams are a big deal. As Around the Layout stops by, thanks for coming by here. And that boss, I think you know which games. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about them. I'm not going to talk. I don't want to talk bad about any game. I'm looking for the perfect game tonight, and here we are. So fun factor, and seasons/teams are the other thing because again, I want to play certain teams. You know, example, I want to play the 76 Buccaneers. If they don't have 1976, not a deal breaker. But if there's a lot of other seasons that they don't have that I'd like to play, now it becomes a deal breaker, and it is not the perfect game. Moving right along, let's go to instructions. Okay. It's got to have good instructions. It's got to be clear. It's got to have examples. Okay. And I will point out a couple that I really enjoy here. Regular season basketball. When I found regular season basketball, what's it now? 3 years ago now. And I went to their website and they had a free demo of the game. So I printed out the instructions, I printed out the demo teams, and I read the instructions. And I would say by the time I got done reading those instructions, I was confident I could play that 90% of that game, maybe even 95% of the game I could play without a problem. It was beautiful. Read the instructions. I know how to play your game. Another one simply happen on a dice roll. That's what's really fun about that is that, hey, you roll this. Here's the possibilities here. Here's what can happen. Here's what happens on the shooter card. Here's what happens on the goalie card. You're never left wondering. You're never left hanging. And they give a couple examples, I think, too. So Strat Hockey does a super, super job with instructions. So I want to have good instructions. And for myself, I overread the instructions or whatever you call, whatever that phrase is. I come in from the instructions from a different angle and I read things differently than other people. I don't know why. It's just what I do. I never want to take anything at face value. So I read it and I read it and I just, am I reading too hard into this thing here? Maybe I should back off a little bit. But so the instructions got to be clear with examples would be ideal. And there's a couple of games that I play now. As you can tell, most of the games I play, the instructions are usually pretty good. Appa will be the exception. But again, I refer back to seasons and teams for Appa, which, will trump the instructions for right now. But if it's got good instructions, we're on our way to the perfect game. As Steeler fan stops by, as well as Jeffrey Edwards, and also Super Bowl tournament. All right, so what is next on my list in the quest, in search of, if you will? Leonard Nimoy's here. We're in search of the perfect game. And I should preface to say this is probably a sports sim game rather than a video game or a war game or any kind of board game. We're probably talking sports here, I would imagine. Advanced play and options. And let me kind of clarify that. So I like games that have basic play and advanced play. And if they don't, depending on the game, that may or may work or not work. But some games, they have a nice basic gameplay to get you up and running, and then you have the advanced play, and maybe even super advanced or master or whatever they want to call it. And I'll call those options. And there's a couple of games. I will start with Season Ticket Baseball. They have a basic game. That's what I learned how to play. It was easy. It was fun. It was awesome. Then they have advanced play, and the advanced rule book it's huge, and you can pretty much mix and match what you want, And if you want to have the pickoffs, you can have the pickoffs. You want to have the overthrows, have the overthrows. If you want to have, defensive shifts and all this other stuff in there, you can add all the stuff as an option, and you can pick and choose. And I do the same thing with Strat Hockey when I play cards and dice. I don't use everything in Stratomatic Advanced and Super Advanced. I use what I'm comfortable with and what I enjoy. And there's some other things I don't want to deal with. So basic play and advanced play with options to pick and choose your rules, that is on my list for a perfect game. If a game says, well, it's either basic or this, and you have to use everything here. Well, what if I don't like everything there? So again, I do like some games I just play basic all the way through. And other games, as you get comfortable, you do want to add more and more and more. And so I don't want to have to add like a ton. I want to chip away at it. And Stratomatic Hockey allows that. Season Ticket Baseball allows it. There's a lot of games that have some advanced rules, optional rules that you can put in to make a game more detailed, more complicated, and the whole bit. So that's another big thing on my list as David C. comes by. Thanks for coming by tonight. So what else is on my list in my quest in search of the perfect game? All players card. Here's a good one. Here is a great one here. All players carded. This is one that I don't want to say I hadn't considered, but it wasn't a big deal to me because I dealt with it. And once you play a game where every player is carded, it is really hard to go back to a game that doesn't have every player carded. Doesn't mean you won't play the game ever again and you hate the game and the game sucks now, but just it's missing something. It's like when you go to a restaurant and you get free refills on your soda. And then you go to another restaurant that charges you every single time you want another Diet Coke or ginger ale or whatever. That's what it feels like. It's just, you miss that. So when I started playing, I think it was Hockey Bones. It was like they have everybody. In fact, one of the first games I played in my 92-93 replay, there's a guy from the Whalers, Scott Daniels, I think PJ told me it was. Played one game. He was carded, and he played in the game. And then I'll never use him again that season. He played in the one game. But he was there. He was there, and I got to play the as-played lineup for that game. In fact, I can play every single game pretty much in Hockey Bones with an as-played lineup because they card everybody. And I didn't think it was that big of a deal because we always want to play the better teams. We always want to play the better guys. But I'm enjoying the as played, as close as played as I can get, because I want to lay out everybody on the table that played in that game. What's my results going to be compared to real life? And that's what I enjoy about having everybody carded. The other thing I like about it is, and I think this was APA actually, I think was it Gilles Meloche, I think it was, played a couple of games, one or two games for the Blackhawks in one season. Might have been 1970. And he only played a couple of games, but he was carded. I think it was APA. He was carded in. So, of course, I'm going to play the Chicago Blackhawks with Meloche in net, not Esposito and not anybody else. I'm going to go with the guy who just played a couple of games and see how he did. And that's what makes it fun. As you know, I enjoy the oddball teams, the oddball players. So for me, having all players carded, now that I'm playing that, including season ticket baseball, who I keep referring to that one there, and even pocket pennant run. You do have to use the spreadsheet for pocket pennant run, but they do have everybody. It's kind of hard to go back to a game that does not have all players carded. Again, not a deal breaker. And again, do you really care about a guy that played one game or two games? Maybe you don't, and maybe sometimes I don't. Maybe it's on a team that I never heard of this guy, and that's fine. But when you play that game with that guy that did play the one game, it is really fun. It's so cool to have that. And so all players carded in search of a perfect game, it would have all players carded. Let's go on to next on my list, and that would be the cards themselves. Okay, so I guess here we're talking more cards and dice, although we could be talking computer as well if they were laid out on the computer. But the cards themselves are a big deal. I like cards that are nice and clean, and I can find everything, and I know what everything is. And I know that there's a lot of games that the more you play, you know if there's a number here or a letter there or something here, you start to memorize that stuff. You play it enough and you memorize it. Well, I'm someone that bounces all around in different games, so I don't stay with a game for that long. So when I come back to a game, what is this? What is this number in the corner here? I don't know what that is. So if a game can lay it out and the cards are nice, maybe there's some color to them depending on the game. Season Ticket Baseball has some great cards. Pocket Pen and Run does some nice cards. I like the APA cards. Again, we're not talking color and logo here, but the APA cards are nice. There's a lot of nice cards out there. But I would say my favorite card right now is Season Ticket Baseball because the card is there. It's got the player name, the team, the year. I think it's got a couple of his stats at the bottom, so you can kind of refer to how many bases he stole, and everything is laid out. Here's his speed. Here's his fielding. It's just it says it fielding, speed. So it's not just a bunch of numbers in a row. It tells you what it is. So you look at the card, you don't have to remember, oh, okay, there's three numbers here. Which one is speed again? You don't have to remember it because it's laid out. So the cards are beautiful in season ticket baseball. And they're a little bit bigger too. And that's kind of a big deal as we get older and our eyes get bad. So the cards themselves are another key part. If I'm in search of a perfect game. And we'll bring up Jim's comment here. Big Jim, thanks for coming by. Hello, everyone. Good point about the players, all the players carded. Love to do replays and having all the players. This is important to me. And some people don't. Some people, that's not a big deal. On the chat Saturday night, the replay gamer said he likes to do as carded. That's a challenge for him. I can see that. I can see if you want to start making decisions in a game, you're limited to the guys that were carded in the game, and that's a different way of playing. It's not wrong. It's not right. It's just actually it is right. Actually, there's no wrong. That's all right. That's something that maybe I would consider if I wanted to start making some decisions in a game. It's okay. I'm gonna pull out Strat or whatever game it is, and whatever's carded, that's how I'm gonna play. Some people really enjoy that. They enjoy the challenge of that, and that's how they play. For me, I do like them all card, and I need the good looks of the card. I really do. Even if it's a team card, yeah, second season by play. I like the team card. It's all laid out. Solitaire Pro Football. The team card looks great. A lot of the Downey games, the fast action, fast action football had a team card. I liked it. So even if shootout hockey, I love the cards in shootout hockey. They're colorful. In fact, I just printed out 74-75 tonight. I'd show you, but they're on the shelf. I printed out 74-75 tonight. They're gorgeous. They got team colors. It's just, I love the cards. So the cards themselves are kind of a deal for me if I'm in search of the perfect game. Continuing on my list, the price. Okay. This is kind of subjective here because, depending on the game, you might have to spend more, especially if you're buying individual seasons. So the price does come into things. Depending on the game and how much I enjoy the game will directly correspond to what I'm willing to pay for the game. There's some games that are PDFs that were nice and cheap, and it's like, hey, that's great. And there's other games that are super expensive that I wouldn't spend 40 or 50 or $60 on. It's just not my thing. Maybe it's not my sport. Maybe it's not whatever it is. Maybe I just don't like how the game is set up. So price does come into play too when you're searching for the perfect game. Although, I remember as a kid playing, whatever I was playing as a kid, Atari, I think I was playing, or in television. And back then, those games were kind of pricey. They were $30. That was expensive for the 70s, or the early 80s. And I remember saying, something, I would spend $100 in 1980 money. I would scrounge up and I would cut grass and do whatever I had to do to scrounge up $100 to buy the perfect hockey game. And I guess that's where I am now. If the game is good, I will buy it. I will buy seasons. I bought a couple more seasons of Hockey Bones today. That's how much I really like that game. In fact, I'm playing that over here in Studio A tonight. I'm playing the Russians and the Canadians, the Summit Series. I'm having a blast with that. So I bought a couple more seasons because I got some projects in mind for Hockey Bones. So price comes into play too, as far as the game goes. And the more you like the game, the more you're probably willing to spend on it. What else is here on my list of things here? Oh, support. You want the game supported. If you have any problems, you want to be able to get a hold of somebody somehow. And there's been some lively discussions on the Delphi forums about some games recently. And I won't go into which ones or whatever, but you do want support. And a lot of the games that I play tend to be, games like Season Tickets, a one-man show over there with Clay. Payoff Pitch, Joe Bryan, awesome guy. These guys give fantastic customer service and support. I have yet to really get bad support or customer service from any of these games. Some of the ways some of these companies do business is weird. I called this one company up one time, a person up, I won't say who it was, and I says, well, I'm going to order, I just ordered this and that, but I says, I might as well get the whole caboodle. Can I change my order to get the whole kit caboodle thing here, and it's going to be more money, so you're going to make more money. But it just would make more sense to me to kind of do it all like this instead of just chopping up. Nope, orders placed. Too bad. I would like to spend more money with your company. Nope. That's kind of a turnoff. I have a business, and if someone come up to me and said, "Hey, Dave, I know I signed up for this, but if I could do this, could I change it to this, and you're going to make more money and it'd be better for me?" Why would I say no if I could make that happen? I don't get some of the things here, but support is a big thing. You want to know that if you have an issue, you can get a hold of somebody. I had some stuff come in damaged, emailed the company, and they said, take a picture of the box. I sent them the picture of the box. And next thing you know, like a day or two later, I had the brand new box and, the whole season all over again. And anytime I had an issue, I would email and I would get the stuff. So I've had pretty good luck as far as customer service and support goes. But that is also important when you're in search of the perfect game, is making sure that somebody's there to help you out if there's a problem. Maybe you lose your PDF, or your dog eats one of your cards or something. You'd like to know that somebody's there to try to help you solve your problem if you have a problem with the game. And then especially when you get into PC games, that's a whole nother can of worms right there, is PC games. But you want to like to get some help with that. Up next on my list is print and PDFs. That's kind of towards the bottom of things here that create in search of a perfect game. It is nice to have the option of getting printed cards or PDFs, or printed games and PDFs. Usually the printed stuff that comes in the mail direct from the company is usually far better than anything I'm going to print. I can make mine look nice, but I can only do 110-pound card stock. And some of these other places do heavier card stock, professionally printed, and they're just awesome. They really are. Even Staples, once in a while, I'll get on the Staples with some shootout cards and print them out, run really thick cards, and they'll come out really nice. But so the option to have PDFs or have them printed from the company is a big deal. And I look at Hockey Bones again as another example. They offer both. You can get a PDF season right away, fairly cheap, and print it on your own. And I've done that. Or you can go to Drive Through Cards and get the super, they're gorgeous poker cards from Drive Through Cards. Fantastic. I love them. I really do. So I like having that option. And sometimes it's like, I'm going to just get the PDF and print out the couple teams. And sometimes, I want the whole season and I want to print it out nice, and I'll spend a little extra money on it. And I know that's a big deal for people overseas too. So if they're in search of the perfect game overseas or out of the United States, you're going to want PDFs because shipping stuff to you is going to be ridiculous. So to have the option of print and PDFs, again, goes a little ways closer to the perfect game. Now I have accuracy. I hated to put this on here. I hated to put accuracy on my list, but I think it has to be there. Because if the game is everything above, if I have 1 through 9 all checked off of my box and I play a game and it's so far off from what it should be, and I'm not talking crazy dice rolls and, just wow, this team just could not roll a hit or a run or a goal or a touchdown, couldn't hit a field. I mean, we've had those games. We've had the oddball games. We've all had them. But if you're consistently getting bad results in a game and the game is just not that good for some reason, then everything above is just kind of useless, because you don't want the last place team beating the first place team all the time. You want the first place team to have the advantage of beating the last place team, as you know what I mean. And if a guy that hits 2 home runs hits 40 home runs, you don't, as fun as that would be, it's still not accurate. I don't want, the third line defenseman on the Boston Bruins scoring 25 goals. He didn't get 25 goals in his career. Why should he get 25 goals in a season? So accuracy plays a part in the search for the perfect game, and it is a big part of it. But as long as I'm in the ballpark, as long as I'm close with everything, it's gotta, if it has all the above and the accuracy is maybe not as tight as other games that doesn't have all these things here, I'll deal with it. As you know, accuracy in a game, we always talk. The first question I see, hey, I'm playing a new game. How accurate is it? Well, I think people are really trying to say, is it in the ballpark? Is it believable? I think we brought that up Saturday night in the chat. Somebody said, is it believable? Could this really happen? And if you played 10 or 12 games and okay, they lost one game they shouldn't have lost, but the other 11 they won or whatever it is. Okay, this is believable. They went on a road trip, they had a bad trip, whatever it is. So I guess as long as it's believable and you can live with that, then accuracy is, again, my accuracy windows is a little bit bigger than some other people's. I'm okay if it's not quite that for the fun factor and everything else. So accuracy does come into play. And then I have here, I think this is my last one, sales and specials. And this is something that, we talk about, Ron and I talk about all the time. And, some of you guys talk about too. I think it's important for a game to have sales and to have specials. And I know that a lot of these people here are smaller companies or one-man operations or mom and pops, as we like to call them. But when you offer your game, even if it's 10%, it gets me thinking about, oh, I want to grab this while it's on sale. When I go shopping, if I go in and this is on sale and this is not on sale, I will probably get the one that's on sale. And I might grab 2 or 3 of them because I'm going to save some money in some bulk. And so sales and specials, I think that has caused me to do more buying than anything else. And when we had the Black Friday, that's when I load up, and season ticket had a monster sale. I grabbed a ton of season ticket because it was on a huge sale. I think it was 50% off PDFs or something like that. It was ridiculous. Here we go. I save up for Black Friday, and when I get something like that, I do. Strats having all kinds of sales. The buy 3, get 1 free, it's for computer seasons. I've stocked up on those, when they have those sales. Sometimes you have specials when it's like, something else. So sales and specials are a big deal too, as far as I'm concerned. As far as purchasing a game, in search of the perfect game, I think that's part of the package. And if they don't, if somebody never has a sale, that's okay. That's why it's my last one here on the list. But I like the sales gets me to buy. And I think it just does with everybody. There's something that's wired in our brains here, in our minds. It says if it's on sale, I'm saving money. This is a deal for me. Whereas if it's not on sale, sometimes I don't buy it, or I wait for a sale, or whatever it is. But I will tend to buy more if you have a sale, or if you have a special, or if you're going to combine something, or free shipping, or whatever it is. And that goes for a lot of things in life. You go to Amazon, and you find, oh, this is on sale, I'll pick it up, or whatever it is. So that's another part. It's kind of not part of the playing of the game, but it's kind of the overall package in search of the perfect game. What does Ron say here? As a baseball gamer, I will always try out a new game with 77 and test out the Mariners, Rangers, or Blue Jays try. So yeah, so you want to try something out and see what your results are, and if you're in the ballpark. Yep. So I think that is kind of everything here. So let me just recap everything here. All righty. So let me go back to my my slideshow here. We'll go right down the list one more time. So the fun factor. Okay, it's got to be fun. That's a big part of this. The fun factor. Seasons and teams. It's 1 and 1A. If this game's the best game ever, and even if it's $5 for the game, it's the cheapest game ever, or free, whatever it is. If you don't have my seasons or teams, I'm not going to play it. It's not going to be the perfect game. I need to have good instructions. That's part of the gameplay is figuring out the game. I don't want to fight the instructions. I don't want to have to, ask 100 questions to play your game. I want a couple maybe, but I want good instructions to help me get through your game. I like basic and advanced play, and I like to have some options in the game. So if I want to, cherry pick which advanced options to play in the game, I want to do that. Some I care about, some I don't. So that's kind of important to me too. All players carded. This, again, kind of come up in the last few games I've been playing, and now it's not mandatory by any means. I will play a game that doesn't have everybody carded, but I will certainly gravitate toward games where everyone is carded because I can play a goalie that played one game. I can play a goalie that played 2 games. I can have a pitcher that played 1 game. Whatever it is, I like to have that option to be able to play everybody. So that's uh, it's not a game breaker or a deal breaker, but I will gravitate toward the games that have everybody carded. The cards themselves, I like the looks of the cards. I like cards that have nice color to them. They're nice and bright. You can find everything. I don't want to look at a card and say, "Oh boy, what are these numbers here?" Now I got to look it up because I forget. I look at a card that it's spread out and you can see everything and you can find everything and it looks nice. So the cards themselves are important. Price, we talked a little bit about price. I mean, the better the game, I'm willing to pay a little bit more for it. But price is a factor as well in finding the perfect game. You need to have support from the people that made the game. If you feel like they're not supporting you or they don't care about you, and I've been through that. There's been some games that I've been a little sour on because of some of the support or non-support or some of the attitudes of some of the people in the industry. It's like, yeah, do I really want to play that game? This guy's a jerk, you know? So support is kind of a big thing. And print versus PDF. I like to have the options of both. Sometimes I want print, sometimes I want PDF. So I like to have options of that as well. And then wrapping up here, we talked a little bit about accuracy. How it's got to, for me, it's got to be in the ballpark. It's got to be believable. If you get that, then I'm fine with it. And then lastly, I like to have sales and specials because I will buy more if I like a game. Even if I like it a little bit, I will buy seasons if it's on sale. Even at the whole game. If there's a game that I've never tried, and it's like, I'm looking at this game here, and all of a sudden, oh, it's on sale for 10% off, 20% off, or 50% off the PDF. I'll pick it up and try it out. And I have so many games here that I picked up for half price, and some I like and some I don't, and some I'm going to play later. There's still some I haven't even opened up yet. But that's kind of a big deal, too. So that is kind of my list if I'm in search of the perfect game. So we have a couple of people in the chat room now. So before I sign off here, I'll open up to you guys in the chat. What do you think? What do you think of my list? And what's on your list? If you're in search of the perfect game, if you could get Leonard Nimoy back here and in search of your perfect game, what would be on your list? Is there something that is on your list that I didn't have on my list? Is there something that it's the top of your list that we should move up, or is there something that we could drop back down on your list? So I'll give the chat room a couple minutes. I'm going to have a little drink here and I'll look at the chat room here and see if anybody wants to add anything to what I said. And from time to time, my list of 11 things there, some of those things are interchangeable pieces in search of the perfect game. There's some that might slide up and slide down depending on the game I'm playing in the whole bit. But that's kind of my list. And like I said, I'd like to know everybody else's list. What's on your list there. So again, if you want to just comment in the comments below the video here on YouTube when we get done, that's fine as well. But I just wanted to jump on tonight and chat about that. And again, this was all spawned from my discussion about Hockey Bones versus Apple Hockey, which I'm going to do a video on probably in the next week or two, and I'm going to compare the two. And I've been doing that on the tabletop, and I'm trying to find a winner. And I don't know why, but I'm trying to find a winner because again, I'm in search of the perfect game. And I think we all are. And we see people all the time that complain about a game or rave about a game. And so again, I don't think there is a perfect game out there, but I think there's some pretty darn good ones that I love to death. And maybe there's a couple of things about it that I'm not really thrilled about that, but you deal with that because you get as close as you can. Oh yeah, one thing. Okay, Dan brings up something here. Time for the completion of a game that matters to me. Dan, that almost made my list. Okay, game that almost made my list because I'm thinking about sometimes I sit down. It's like I want to play. I'm dying to play some football here, but I know if I pull out Solitaire Pro Football or Second Season, they're play-by-play games, and I'm looking at 2.5 hours. There's just no way around it. You just really can't play a full play football game in less than a couple of hours or so. So yeah, so time of a game that does matter too, as far as finding in search of the perfect game. But the other thing is, I know that if I want to play a play-by-play football game, that I'm in for a slog. And it's not like I have game A, which I can play in 45 minutes, or game B, which I can play in 2.5 hours. That's not fair. That's not going to happen. If you can play a full play game of 45 minutes, something's not right there, because it just takes a long time to play. It just does. Maybe if you get good at a game, you can fly through it. I don't know. Maybe some people play Apple football and they fly through it in the whole bit. But if you're going play by play and keeping all the stats and stuff, you're looking at, a couple of minutes or so per play usually, and then you got to add up all the plays. So just the math um, brings it into a long game. But I think what I would agree that if you got a game that just takes way longer than other ones, then maybe you shy away from that. So I will agree on the time thing there. Um, and Bob's Tabletop Sports chimes in and he says, I think there are a lot of gamers that value stats accuracy above all else. Not my cup of tea, but they tend to be vocal about it. That is important. And I touched on that as far as, you don't want to play a game that's unrealistic. It could be the funnest game ever. I played a lot of fun games. I'm looking at this, and then I look at the games like, as fun as that was, this is not realistic. This would never happen, And I know we have flukes and we have bad dice rolls and a whole bit, but I played some games. It's like, no, this is just, it's close, but not close enough. So I get that stat accuracy is important to a lot of people, and it should be. But I mean, if you're going to sit there and say, well, game A, this guy hit 277 in game A, he hit 275 in real life, but over in this game, he hit 287. It's all close, you can't, but if he hit 377, yeah, then he's way over the batting average of what he should have been. So I guess it depends on the game in the whole bit. So to me, fun is the big thing. But again, if it's not believable, then it's not really fun. So I agree with that. And Bob says he likes a quick play feature is a feature. Yep. So I mean, there are some games that you can play a little bit quicker, or maybe sim a few things. There are some games out there that you can sim right along and then boom, stop and play the full play out as well. So I guess that could happen as well. Big Jim says, I think I got it covered. At one time in my gaming life, I was anal about the stats. Now it's more about fun, playing time, and stats fall down a list of it. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. I mean, it's not that statistical accuracy is something I don't care about, because I do. But if I'm having fun, a perfect example would be momentum football. I went back to that and I did that Buccaneer project, as you guys know, and I absolutely love momentum football. It's just I would have to say the accuracy of that game is a little suspect. There's just way too many turnovers in that game. I mean, you look at the offense and the defense size of the team cards, and the team cards are nice. I like the team cards, but holy cow, there is a lot of turn. There should be a lot more punts on there than some of these turnovers. So that's one game that I really enjoy playing. It's super fun, but the accuracy, ooh, it can be a little out of bounds, let's say. I had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers either beat or in the game against the Steelers, Colts, and Raiders, and they shouldn't have been. I think they beat the Raiders and the Steelers. There's no way any game should allow the Buccaneers to beat the Raiders or the Steelers in 76. That game does. So it is what it is. Ron says, once I lost my payoff pitch charts and used my facts, I mentioned it to Joe in chatting, and 3 days later get new charts. And he said I was fine with facts I told. Yeah, yeah, and that's good customer service right there. Good support is that someone that doesn't have to do something but does, because some people are sticklers about it and just no, this is it. This is the rules, and if you want it, you got to buy it again and the whole bit. But there's something about working with people that costs you money, but it's gonna make you money in the long run. And again, I have a business, and sometimes I'll have to eat hundreds of dollars on something, but that person is like super thankful that I worked with them on something, and that translates into them talking good about me, which gets them to want to do more business with me and other people. And if word get out that I was a stickler and I did this and I, did, and now I get a bad reputation and people are going to think twice about doing business with me. But So I just find that no one likes to lose money, but you got to think, if I take this hit today, is this going to come back, you know, in a positive way for me? And a lot of times it does. Again, you just said that about Joe Bryant, payoff pitch. He has such a good reputation in the industry for stuff like that. That just, I don't play the game all that much, but I still buy seasons from him, and I'm hoping he comes out with 1974, because I would buy that in a second for baseball. And if he comes out with that basketball game, I want to try that. He's just one of those guys. You hear these stories about him, and you want to do business with them. You want to interact with them. You want to spend your money with somebody like that because they're willing to work with you. So, yeah, so that's a great example. um, and yes, Bob says Joe at payoff pitch does have amazing serve. He does. He really does. You know, and I don't talk to him as much as I used to, and I know he's going through a bad time right now. But when I did talk to him, everything was always great. Joel says, as a guy who does mostly single team season replays, an absolute must for me is a computer version that basically a port of the tabletop game with dice input, AI, statistic keeping, and autoplay. Okay, so that's on your list of in search of a perfect game. I like that. So I started to do that actually. I'm playing Strat PC Baseball, and I think I'm doing the 74 Reds? I think I'm doing the 74 Reds. And I'm playing every game. And again, that's one of my millions of projects I got going on. And I'm managing them myself. I'm not really doing an as played so much. I'm looking at the lineup, but I'm fiddling and diddling with the lineup with the Reds and trying to enjoy that the best I can. But I like the fact that it's simulating other games. It's keeping all the stats for me, and I'm enjoying that. And I could actually roll my own dice in that game if I wanted to, I guess. But yeah, so having a PC computer version of that is too, and that's why I liked Digital Diamond is their helper. It's basically a helper, and I'm playing all kinds of baseball games. I'm playing pocket pennant and payoff pitch and anything else I can get my hands on. I'm playing and using Digital Diamond as my stat keeper, and it's awesome. It is awesome. Yeah, so that's another thing. I didn't even think about that. I almost put helper on my list. Helper almost made it to my list, and I guess that would kind of fit the helper role. And see, jumping back into Ron, one game I played 77. Barry Campaness was hitting 058 after 50 games. I'm not sure what. So I guess that's low. I take it that would be low, and that can happen. I mean, you saw my '86 Red Sox replay with Strat PC. Clemens got racked. The Red Sox finished 22 games out of first place. And they went to the World Series in real life, and they're finishing 22 games out of first place. It happens. I didn't get mad at the game. I didn't think the game sucked. I didn't. It just happens, and it's just, you know, I mean, I know Strat's one of the better games out there, so I can't doubt Strat if the Sox had a bad season. I suppose if I played it again, they would probably be towards the top. I just had a bad, bad season. It just happened. Clemens got racked up, and that's what happened. Let's see, Midlife Crisis stopping by. You should try the $77. They only scored 7 offensive TDs all season. I thought about that. I always played the $76, but I thought it would be fun to play the 77 Buccaneers because they were a tad better. They actually won 2 games later in the season, and then they turned it around pretty quick after that. But I thought about playing the 77 one because they lost their first 12 games too. They were really, really bad those first 2 years. So I thought about playing them just for fun. And the reason I play them, and the reason I play the Seals a lot is because they just get beat up. And like when I get a new hockey game, the first teams I play, it's Boston against the California Seals or the Oakland Seals. And because that's Boston's going to win that game. And I'm going to be, I'm not going to play Boston, Montreal, and have Montreal beat me in my first game because then I won't like the game. So I got to know myself. I'm going to play the worst team in the league. I'm going to play the Seals, and we're gonna beat them up 4-1, and that's how I'm going to test out the game. So, but the 77 Buccaneers, it's kind of on my list of teams to play. I'm not sure what game I'm going to play it in, but I always do 76. But 77, that would be a fun one as well. Good suggestion. See if I can get more than 7 TDs. Let's see. Jim says I've had games in replays where the overall stats were spot on, but there will always be those outliers where a few players over underperform. Well, I think that's what it comes down to. I think how these games are set up is they're going to get you close. If the dice rolls, whatever your dice rolls is, whether it's 11 to 66 or 2 to 12 or 1 to 20 or whatever it is, or 0 to 100, it's going to be weighted towards getting you close. But depends on how you roll on either side. You could go up or down. You could overperform or underperform. Yes, you absolutely could. They absolutely could. A midlife crisis comes back and says they were shut out 6 times. That would be a challenge to test your various game engines. Well, I kind of did that with 76. They were shut out a handful of times in 76 as well. And in my replays, they weren't really shut out. I think there was one shutout, maybe. But aside from that, they were quite competitive. And they lost a handful of games by single digits. So they could have won some games that year. Their defense was good. Their offense was terrible. But yeah, I mean, it's always fun when you play those teams. But again, when we talk to developers, and we're gonna have some developers on again and talk to them about that. When you have the outskirts, the liars, the really good or the really bad, they said it's really hard to card those teams or those players because it's so far off the spectrum that you know you don't want to make them so bad that they can't compete because they did compete, but you don't want to make them to a point where they're going to start winning too many games either. So anytime you have that, they said it was really hard to card players and teams like that. So that's kind of how that goes. Um, and Jeff says he echoes what Jim says. There's always that guy that has the MVP year, and they were okay. Yep. And but isn't that why you play? To a certain degree, we should do one called "Why I Play." I know we've talked about it on the show, but I want to see if I can, if that guy's going to overperform or underperform. That's what makes it kind of fun. I mean, I did a game of hockey bones. It was Bruins and the Rangers, and Bruins were fighting for their lives, and the Rangers weren't a good team. And last roll of the game, third line left winger, I think it was for the Rangers. Guy that I don't know if he had 2 or 3 goals on the year, scores. Game winning goal as time expires. This guy, third line left winger. Who are you? Never heard of you. And you're going to roll the minimal roll to be in range and score on my goalie and win the game. But that's why we play. Because a guy like that can score the goal in our game to win it. Some unknown guy. Just, and that's why it's the theater of the mind. So I'm thinking that somehow pass hit a stick, it bounced off a skate, bounced right to this guy. He slapped it in the net, shocked everybody. He wasn't expecting to make that play, and it happened. So you're going to have the people that are the MVPs, that get these weird goals, That's what makes it fun. Now, if this guy scores 50, that's not cool. That's, that would be 50 bad dice rolls for me, or good dice rolls if it would be. So I think it's that would be out of line. But him scoring a game-winning goal, as mad as it made me, it was kind of fun. And then the game that I blew a 3-goal lead in Vancouver. I'm on a road trip. I'm doing well on this road trip. I think I won 3 out of 4. I'm looking to make it 4 out of 5. And I got a 3-goal lead in the second period, and Vancouver scores 6 goals. And I lose by 3. I was like, how did this happen? I mean, everything was in range. Everything was on the net, and everything was a goal. I was 6 goals in a row. And I was upset. I really was. I couldn't believe that happened. But it did, and now I can laugh about it because it's like, yeah, we blew it on the road. We blew the road trip. We did. Let me see here. Back with Jim. It says exactly right. If the games all produce the exact results in real life, it would take the fun out of playing. It would. Trying to produce those upsets or seeing those middle of the pack teams make a playoff run. Yeah, I mean, and again, if you played a game and you got the exact results or like right next to exact results, why play? If you played a World Series out and every game was the exact scores in real life, it would be fun. But if it was all the time, if every time you played a World Series, it went exactly as it did in real life, first of all, that'd be pretty eerie. And second of all, I don't know if I'd want to play a game like that. If you can't change history, if it's going to be exactly the same, where's the fun in that? It really does. Bob talks about unpopular thing that he likes in games is the ability to do fictional teams. That's one thing that didn't make my list. I can see the allure to fictional teams and players. I can. I have the fictional set for Stone Cold Hockey. It's fun. You don't know these guys, so you're learning them all together. It's a whole different league. It's a whole new teams, new players. It's really fun. When you see like Gee whatever Jones or whatever, and he's leading. I don't know this guy from Adam. Never heard of him, but he's my money guy. And then my goaltender, Jacques, whatever. He's in net and he's backbone of my team. And so you develop a story with that fictional. So I can see the allure with that. For me, right now, I enjoy playing the real players because I want to play Bobby Orr. I want to play Jean Rattel and Ken Dryden and Tony Esposito. I want to play all those guys because I never could. I could only play Sega Genesis 1990 and above. I couldn't play anything in the 80s or the 70s. So now that I can, I'm still enjoying that. But I can see the allure of fictional. I can see how you could have a lot of fun with fictional, but the problem is it would be your fun. And we talked about this Saturday night a little bit about fictional. How if you were playing fiction, whatever it was, baseball, football, hockey, basketball, whatever you were playing fictional, and you want to share it with somebody, nobody knows these guys. Nobody knows these teams. It's like, hey, I got my fictional league, and Randy Bo Bob is leading my team in batting. Nobody knows Randy Bo Bob. So if you say, hey, Kyle Yastrzemski hit 6 home runs, okay, we all know Kyle Yastrzemski. So fictional, it's kind of like for you and you only. It's kind of like that's how I look at fictional. It's got to be yours and yours only because you really can't share fictional with anybody. Midlife, what do you got here? Besides taking my favorite teams, I like to take that one team that just missed and see if I can get them into the postseason or win the division. It helps me learn about other players too. Yeah, that's the fun thing about playing some of the other teams. You do learn about different players and different teams. I learned a whole bunch about the Spiders. Even had the guy that wrote the book come on the show. That was a blast. He found me and we talked, and he come on the show. We spent a whole Saturday night talking 1899 baseball. One of the funnest episodes we've had here. Really was that guy there talking Spiders baseball. And so you do learn a lot. And sometimes that's why I like to play a season that's a little bit out of my wheelhouse, because it's like I'm going to learn about some of these guys. Maybe I heard of some, maybe I didn't, but I get to learn about some of these things here. And so and it is fun playing teams that just missed, and can you get them into the playoffs? I get that, you know what I mean? And I'll see, now we're talking here. Yep. So the world's worst games is the perfect sports sims games on PC would be the ones that have a button in game to press that instantly orders pineapple pizza and has it delivered to your door. Oh, that's the perfect game right there. I don't care if they have seasons. I don't care the price of that game. I don't care if it whatever. If there's a button to call a timeout and order pineapple pizza, oh, that would be the best game. All right, we'll wrap up here in a second here. Midlife Crisis says, I like to analyze the outliers to see exactly why. Is 85 MLB replay. The A's won the AL West in real life. They were actually in contention until a June swoon. In my replay, they didn't swoon. My Red Sox didn't swoon in 86 either, and that was fun. And I'm enjoying the single team replays for a season as well. I bop around a lot, and I play a game of the week here and a game of the week there, but I do see the fun in playing one team, learning that team, riding the ups and downs with that team, feel like you're part of the team. And, again, I'm playing the 92, 93 Bruins with Hockey Bones. I think I'm 9 or 10 games in. I was really kicking butt. I was playing a game every couple of days over the summer there. And, we went on a road trip, and I felt I took the bumps of the road trip with them. We had some good games and bad games. We blew a lead in Vancouver, and I felt part of it. I really did. I need to get back to that so I can feel part of that again. So, but anyway. All right. Well, I went on a little longer than I thought. I thought it would just take me a half hour or so, but we had some great comments in here tonight as we are in search of the perfect game. I gave you my 11 things on my list there. I probably have a couple of others that I could have added that might have not made it. Maybe a helper. Somebody brought up that, they like to have a computer helper in the game to keep stats and maybe simulate some other games. Yet that would definitely add to the perfect game if there was a helper available. That almost made my list, and maybe I'd have to add that for number 12. But a lot of things on the list tonight, a lot of things we talked about were great here. So again, I want to know what you think. If you're in search of the perfect game, what are some of the things on your list? So, hey, I'm Dave. You guys all have a good night, and we'll talk to everybody later. Bye bye.